2 years had passed since the Valak incident. In the halls of the Galactic Assembly, humanity remained a joke. Ambassadors from powerful empires still smiled with barely hidden contempt when Jiwan Park entered the chamber. Some did not bother to hide it at all. The insect species they called humans, the ones too weak to matter, Jiwan endured it all with quiet dignity. She attended every session. She made proposals for trade agreements. Most were ignored. She offered assistance in conflicts between smaller species. Most laughed at the idea. What could humanity possibly offer? They had 3 colonies and a handful of outdated ships. They were children playing at galactic politics. But Jiwan noticed something. A few species did not laugh. The Lydrians, who had been conquered by larger empires twice in their history, listened when she spoke. The Kreven, whose homeworld had been destroyed in ancient wars, met with her privately. These species understood what it meant to be dismissed. They understood what it meant to be called weak. She began to build quiet friendships. Nothing official. Nothing that would draw attention. Just conversations over meals. Exchanges of cultural information. Small gestures of respect between species that the great powers ignored. Jiwan did not know why she felt compelled to do this. She only knew that someday these connections might matter. Far from the assembly in a research facility on Mars, Dr. Sujin Lee worked in a laboratory that officially did not exist. The complex had been built deep underground. Only a select few knew of its location. Even fewer knew what happened inside. Sujin stood before a massive reactor core. It glowed with blue light. The energy readings made her smile. She had spent 2 years on this project. 2 years of calculations. 2 years of failed tests. 2 years of slowly, carefully improving the design. Now finally it worked. Admiral Hyunwoo Kang entered the laboratory. He was older now. Gray hair had replaced black, but his eyes remained sharp. He looked at the reactor and then at Sujin. "Tell me." Sujin pulled up data on a screen. 30% more efficient than anything the Valak use. 50% more efficient than standard galactic technology. And it runs cooler. Our ships will have more power for weapons, shields, and engines. They will be able to fight longer. Run faster. Hit harder. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. How many can we produce? We have 3 manufacturing facilities ready, hidden on Earth, Mars, and Titan. We can equip 200 ships within a year, 500 within 2 years. The aliens think we have only 40 combat vessels. They have no idea what we are building. Good, continue the work. Tell no one outside this facility. The moment the galaxy knows we have this technology, they will try to stop us. We need time, Sujin understood. She returned to her work. Around her, dozens of scientists did the same. They were building the future. They were building revenge. But they called it something else. They called it survival. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Commander Tae-Yang Cho ran simulations in a military training center. Young officers sat at combat stations. They were learning tactics that no alien empire had ever seen. Tae-Yang had studied every battle recording available. He had watched the Valak fight. He had watched the Thorian Confederacy fight. He had watched a dozen other species wage war in space. They all fought the same way. They formed battle lines. They traded shots at medium range. They followed ancient rules of engagement that had been passed down for thousands of years. It was predictable. It was formal. It was stupid. Tae-Yang taught his officers something different. He taught them to be unpredictable, to strike from unexpected angles, to ignore the rules that everyone else followed, to use the enemy's expectations against them. One young officer, Seok Jin-yu, excelled at this new way of fighting. He had been on the Morning Star during the Valak encounter. He remembered the feeling of helplessness. He trained harder than anyone else. He ran simulations until his eyes burned. He pushed himself until he could barely stand. Tae-Yang watched him with approval. "Why do you push yourself so hard?" Seok-Jin looked at him with eyes that had seen death. "Because I never want to feel that way again. I never want to sit helpless while someone decides if I live or die. Next time we face the Valak, I want them to be the ones who feel helpless." Tae-Yang smiled. "Good. That fire will keep you alive. But remember, we are not seeking revenge. We are seeking respect. There is a difference. Revenge is emotional. Respect is earned through capability. We will show the galaxy what we can do. Then they will have no choice but to take us seriously." In shipyards hidden throughout the solar system, construction crews worked around the clock. They built vessels that looked different from anything humanity had made before. Sleek, fast, deadly. Each ship incorporated Sujin's reactor technology. Each ship was designed according to Taiyang's new tactical doctrines. The workers did not know the full scope of what they were building. They knew only their small part. A weapons system here, a shield generator there, hull plating, engine components. Each piece seemed insignificant, but together, they formed something that would change everything. Admiral Hyunwoo visited each facility personally. He spoke to the workers. He thanked them for their service. He never told them the full plan. He never mentioned the word war. He simply said they were building humanity's future. Most understood what that meant. Captain Dae-ho Kim, promoted to admiral after the Valak incident, now commanded the first of the new battle fleets. His flagship was named the HSS Resilience. It was 3 times the size of his old transport ship. It carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. It could outrun anything the Valak had, and it was just the first of many. Dae-ho stood on the bridge and looked at his crew. They were ready. They had trained for this moment. They knew what was coming. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. The galaxy thought humans were insects. Let them think that. Let them believe their own lies. In the Galactic Assembly, Ji-won received a coded message from Earth. It was short, simple, just a date. She did not know what it meant. She only knew that something was about to change. She could feel it. The way the other ambassadors spoke to her had shifted slightly. Not much, just a little, as if they sensed something they could not quite identify. The Lydrian ambassador, Senator Bo-ra Choi, approached her after a session. She spoke quietly. "Ambassador Park, I have heard rumors, stories of human ships in deep space, ships that do not match your official fleet registry. I do not know if these stories are true, but if they are, I want you to know something. The Lydrians remember what it means to be underestimated. If humanity truly is building something in secret, we will not reveal it to the great powers. Some of us want to see them humbled. Some of us want to see the insects bite back." Ji-won chose her words carefully. "I cannot confirm or deny rumors, Senator, but I appreciate your friendship. Humanity values the connections we have built with the Lydrians. Whatever the future brings, we will remember who stood with us when others laughed." Bo-ra nodded and walked away. Ji-won returned to her quarters. She looked at the date in the message again. 3 more years. Whatever was coming, it would happen in 3 more years. She just had to maintain the facade until then. She just had to endure the mockery. She just had to wait. Patience, that was the key. The galaxy had dismissed humanity. They had called humans weak. They had made a fundamental mistake. They assumed that silence meant acceptance. They assumed that patience meant surrender. They would learn the truth soon enough. Humanity was not silent. Humanity was not surrendering. Humanity was preparing, and when the moment came, the galaxy would see what humans truly were. The Valak Armada emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 600 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled by any single empire. They moved forward in perfect formation. They looked unstoppable. High Commander Velkar stood on his command deck and watched the tactical display. 300 coalition ships held position around Earth, brave but insufficient. He had twice their numbers. He had the momentum. He would crush them and finally erase the shame of his earlier defeat. But Admiral Dae-ho had spent months preparing for this moment. He had studied every recording of Valak tactics. He had learned from the Battle of New Sejong. He knew exactly what Velkar would do, and he had a plan that would use the Valak commander's confidence against him. The Valak fleet advanced. They formed their standard battle formation. They expected the coalition to meet them head-on. Instead, the human and allied ships scattered. They broke into small groups. They used the same unpredictable tactics that had worked before. But this time, Velkar had prepared for it. Valak point defense systems had been upgraded. Their targeting computers had been reprogrammed. Their shields had been recalibrated to resist human weapons. When the coalition forces struck, the damage was less than expected. The Valak fleet absorbed the hits and kept moving. Velkar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They thought we would be unprepared. They thought the same tactics would work twice. But the Valak Empire learns from its mistakes. Now they will see what happens when their tricks fail. The Valak fleet pushed through the outer defensive line. They advanced on Earth itself. Coalition ships fought desperately. Vessels exploded on both sides. Space filled with debris and energy signatures. The battle was fierce. But slowly, inevitably, the Valak numbers began to tell. They were winning. On Earth, billions watched the battle unfold on screens across the planet. They saw their defenders pushed back. They saw the massive Valak fleet drawing closer. Fear spread. Some people fled to shelters. Others stood on rooftops and looked up at the sky where flashes of light marked ships dying. They wondered if this was the end. Admiral Hyunwoo Kang watched from his command center. He remained calm. He knew what others did not. This was all part of the plan. He opened a secure channel. Admiral Kim, proceed to Phase 2. On the Resilience, Admiral Dae-ho acknowledged the order. He looked at his brother officer, Captain Young-ho Park, who commanded a special stealth squadron. Your turn, Captain. Make it count. Young-ho nodded and activated his ships. 20 vessels that had been hiding in Earth's shadow. 20 ships equipped with the most advanced stealth technology humanity had ever developed. They were invisible to Valak sensors. They had been waiting for exactly this moment. The stealth squadron moved silently through the chaos of battle. They slipped past the Valak outer formations. They penetrated deep into the enemy fleet. Their target was specific, the command ship. Velkar's flagship. Young-ho guided his ships with precision. He had trained for this mission for months. Every pilot in his squadron knew their role. They knew the risks. They knew this could end badly. But they also knew this might be humanity's only chance to end the war. They reached the command ship. Young-ho gave the signal. All 20 vessels dropped their stealth systems simultaneously. They unleashed every weapon they had at point-blank range. Not at the hull. Not at the weapons. They targeted something more important. The ship's communication and command systems. The systems that coordinated the entire Valak fleet. Velkar felt his flagship shudder. Alarms screamed. His officers shouted reports. Communications offline. Command network disrupted. We have lost connection with the fleet. Enemy ships are inside our defensive perimeter. He stared at the chaos unfolding around him. His carefully coordinated fleet suddenly operated without central direction. Ships tried to act independently, but they had trained for centuries to follow orders. Without those orders, confusion spread. Formation collapsed. The advantage of numbers began to evaporate. Coalition forces pressed their attack. They exploited the confusion. They struck at Valak ships that now fought without support from their neighbors. The tide of battle shifted. Not dramatically. Not obviously. But it shifted. Young-ho's squadron completed their mission. They had disabled the command ship. Now they faced the consequences. Valak defenders finally reacted. They poured fire into the human stealth vessels. 3 ships exploded immediately. 5 more took critical damage. The rest tried to escape, but Valak weapons tracked them relentlessly. Young-ho's own ship shuddered as weapons struck his shields. He tried to maneuver, but his engines were damaged. He knew he would not escape. He opened a final communication channel to his sister. Ji-won, tell Mother I did my duty. Tell her humanity will survive. Tell her I am proud to have served. Ambassador Ji-won Park received the transmission on Earth. She stood in the command center next to Admiral Hyunwoo. She heard her brother's voice. She saw his ship explode on the tactical display. She felt something break inside her. But she did not cry, not yet. Not while the battle continued. Lieutenant Yoonji Kwon worked her communication station on the Resilience. She was young. Only 23 years old. She had never expected to be at the center of the most important battle in human history, but circumstances had placed her here. And now she had a role to play. Admiral Dae-ho turned to her. Lieutenant, send the message. All channels. All languages. Maximum power. I want every ship in this system to hear it. Yoonji took a breath and activated the communications array. She spoke in the Valak language. She had practiced this message 100 times. Her pronunciation was perfect to High Commander Velkar and all Valak forces. Your command ship is disabled. Your fleet coordination is broken. You cannot win this battle, but humanity offers you something. We offer you the same mercy you once showed us. Leave now. Take your ships and return home. We will not pursue. We will not destroy you. This war can end today with honor on both sides, or it can continue until both our fleets are destroyed. The choice is yours. On the Valak command ship, Velkar heard the message. He looked around at his damaged bridge, at his confused fleet, at the tactical display showing coalition forces pressing their advantage. He had lost. Not completely, not yet, but the momentum was gone. Victory was no longer possible. Now he faced only a choice between retreat and mutual destruction. His second officer spoke quietly. "Commander, we should accept. We can regroup. We can rebuild. If we continue, we lose everything." Velkar closed his eyes. He remembered the transport ship 5 years ago, the frightened captain who had thanked him for mercy. He had called them insects. He had spared them from contempt. Now they offered him the same mercy. But from strength, from a position of power, they could destroy his fleet, but they chose not to. They showed him what true mercy looked like. He opened his eyes and spoke. "All Valak forces cease fire. Begin withdrawal procedures. We accept the human terms. This battle is over." The Valak fleet disengaged. They moved slowly away from Earth. Coalition forces held their fire. They watched the massive armada retreat. Nobody cheered. Too many had died on both sides. Too much blood had been spilled. But the war was over. Admiral Deho sat in his command chair and felt exhaustion wash over him. They had won. Earth was safe. But the cost had been terrible. He thought of Captain Young-Ho Park and the other pilots who had sacrificed themselves. He thought of all the crews on both sides who would never see home again. Victory felt hollow. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. Humanity had defeated the Valak Empire, but more importantly, humanity had shown mercy. They had spared their enemy when they could have destroyed them. This act resonated throughout known space. Species that had dismissed humans as weak now saw them differently. They saw strength. They saw wisdom. They saw a people who fought when necessary but preferred peace. 6 months later, Ambassador Ji-Wan Park stood in a neutral space station. Across from her sat High Commander Velkar. Between them lay the peace treaty that would end all hostilities between the Valak Empire and the coalition of free worlds. They had negotiated for weeks. The terms were fair. Both sides made concessions. Both sides gained security. Before they signed, Velkar spoke. "Ambassador Park, I must tell you something. 5 years ago I called your people insects. I granted mercy from contempt. I believed you were insignificant. I was wrong. Your people taught me what I should have known. That strength comes not from the size of your fleet or the power of your weapons. It comes from character, from determination, from the courage to fight when necessary and the wisdom to show mercy when possible. The Valak Empire will not forget this lesson." Ji-Wan nodded. She thought of her brother. She thought of all who had died. "My people will not forget either, Commander. We will remember that you once spared us. We will remember that we repaid that mercy, and we will remember that peace is always better than war. Let this treaty mark not just an end to conflict, but the beginning of understanding." They signed the document. The war was officially over. Humanity had secured its place in the galaxy, not through conquest, not through domination, but through strength tempered with wisdom, through the willingness to fight when threatened and the courage to show mercy when victorious. The transport ship drifted through the black void of space. Inside, Captain Deho Kim watched the scanner with growing concern. His crew of 30 sat quietly at their stations. They all knew what the red dots on the screen meant. Valak ships. 3 of them. Each one was 10 times larger than their small transport vessel. Deho had been a captain for 5 years. He had carried supplies between human colonies. He had never seen combat. Humanity had joined the galaxy only 15 years ago. They were newcomers. They were weak. Everyone knew it. The Valak ships moved closer. Their weapons powered up. Deho could see the energy readings spike on his display. His communications officer looked at him with fear in her eyes. She was young, too young to die in empty space. A message came through. The voice was deep and cold. It spoke in perfect human language. The Valak had studied humanity well. Human vessel. You have entered Valak territory. This is a violation. Your ship will be destroyed. Deho took a breath. His hands shook slightly. He pressed the button to respond. His voice came out steady despite his fear. This is Captain Deho Kim of the human transport ship Morning Star. We did not know this was your space. Our maps must be outdated. We mean no harm. We ask permission to leave peacefully. Silence followed, long and heavy. The Valak ships circled like predators around prey. Their weapons remained active. Daeho wondered if these would be his last moments. He thought of Earth. He thought of his family. He had a sister. She would never know what happened to him. Then the voice returned. It sounded almost amused. "Captain Kim, I am High Commander Velkar of the Valak Empire. I have studied your species. You are brave to speak so calmly while facing death, but bravery means nothing without strength. Your people are weak. Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are toys. You should not be in this part of space. You should not be in space at all." Daeho felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Anger would not save his crew. He needed to be smart. He needed to survive. "You are correct, Commander. We are weak compared to the Valak. We are new to the galaxy. But we are learning. We ask only for the chance to leave and learn from this mistake." Another pause. Daeho watched the weapons on the Valak ships. They could fire at any moment. His crew waited. Some prayed. Some held hands with the person next to them. They all expected to die. High Commander Velkar spoke again. This time his voice carried something different. Not respect. Something closer to pity. "You show wisdom by acknowledging your weakness. This is rare among lesser species. Most would make threats they cannot fulfill. Most would die with useless pride. But you understand reality. For this reason I will grant you mercy. You will leave. You will tell your people what happened here. You will tell them that the Valak Empire spared you, not because you earned it, not because you deserved it, but because destroying you would be like crushing an insect. It would be beneath us. You are too insignificant to matter." The words cut deeper than any weapon. Daeho felt his face burn with shame. But he kept his voice level. "Thank you, Commander. We will remember this. See that you do. Now leave Valak space. If I encounter humans here again, there will be no mercy. Go." The Valak ships withdrew, their weapons powered down. They vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving the human transport alone in the darkness. For a long moment, nobody on the Morning Star moved. Then someone started crying. Others joined in. Relief and shame mixed together. Daeho sat in his chair and stared at the empty space where the Valak ships had been. He had saved his crew, but at what cost? He had accepted humiliation. He had called his own people weak. He had thanked an alien for treating them like nothing. The journey back to human space took 3 days. Nobody spoke much. When they arrived at the nearest human station, Daeho filed his report. The news spread quickly. Too quickly. Within a week, the entire galaxy knew the Valak had spared a human ship. They had called humanity insignificant insects. The story reached the Galactic Assembly, where Ambassador Jiwon Park represented Earth. She stood before hundreds of alien species and heard them laugh. Some laughed openly. Others hid their amusement behind false sympathy. A delegate from the Thorian Confederacy spoke. His voice dripped with condescension. "Ambassador Park, perhaps humanity should reconsider its membership in this assembly. Clearly your people are not ready for galactic affairs. Perhaps a few more centuries of development would help." Jiwon kept her face neutral. She had trained for years in diplomacy. She knew how to hide her emotions. But inside she felt the same shame that Daeho had felt. She wanted to scream at them. She wanted to tell them that humanity was more than they thought. But she had no proof. She had no power. She had only words. "Humanity will remain in the assembly. We will learn. We will grow. Thank you for your concern." The session ended. Jiwon returned to her quarters and allowed herself to feel the weight of it all. Earth had been humiliated. Her people had been called insects. And there was nothing she could do about it. But on Earth, in a secure facility deep underground, Admiral Hyun-woo Kang read the same reports with different eyes. He was an old soldier. He had fought in Earth's last wars before first contact. He understood something that the diplomats did not. He understood that mercy from a position of strength was admirable. But mercy from pity was an insult that could never be forgotten. Hyun-woo called a meeting. Only a few people attended. Scientists, engineers, military planners. People who understood that the galaxy respected only one thing: power. He stood before them and spoke quietly. The words he said that day would change everything. They called us insects. They spared us because we did not matter. Let them think that. Let the whole galaxy think that. While they laugh, we will work. While they dismiss us, we will prepare. One day they will learn the truth. Insects do not build starships. Insects do not cross the void, and insects do not remember insults, but humanity does. We will remember, and when the time comes, we will show them exactly what humans are capable of. The people in that room understood. They had been waiting for this moment. They had been ready to prove humanity's worth. Now they had permission. Now they had purpose. The secret work began that very day. While the galaxy laughed at humanity's weakness, humans built their strength in silence. The Valak had made a mistake. They had shown mercy to someone who would remember it, and humanity never forgot. 5 years after the Valak showed mercy, their empire grew hungry. They had conquered 12 minor species in those years. Each victory was easy. Each opponent fell within weeks. The Valak military machine rolled forward like a tide. Nothing stopped them. Nothing even slowed them down. High Commander Velkar studied the star maps in his command center. His fleet surrounded him, 300 warships, the largest force ever assembled under his command. He was proud of what he had built. He was proud of his empire's strength. His second officer approached. "Commander, our next target has been approved by the High Council. The human colonies, all 3 of them. Intelligence reports they have minimal defenses. Standard outdated vessels. No significant military infrastructure. It should take less than a week to secure complete surrender." Velkar smiled. He remembered the humans. The frightened captain who had thanked him for mercy. The transport ship that could barely maintain its shields. Insects. That was what he had called them. The description still fit. Send the standard terms. Complete surrender. All military assets turned over. All colonies placed under Valak administration. If they resist, we will destroy them. If they surrender immediately, we will allow them to live as subjects of the Empire. They should be grateful. Most species do not receive such generous offers. The fleet moved toward human space. Velkar felt no concern. He had fought in 50 battles. He had never lost. The humans would surrender, or they would die. Either way, this would be over quickly. The Valak Armada entered the new Sejong system. The human colony orbited a blue star. 2 million people lived on the surface. Farms, cities, families, everything the Valak intended to control. Velkar prepared to transmit his demands. Then his sensor officer spoke. His voice carried confusion. "Commander, I am detecting ships, multiple contacts. They are not running. They are holding position between us and the colony." "How many?" 80 contacts, sir. No, wait, more are appearing. They were using some kind of stealth system. I now count 120 ships. These are not the vessels in our intelligence files. These are new designs. I have never seen anything like them." Velkar leaned forward. "Impossible. Human ships are obsolete. They have no advanced technology. Check your sensors. I have checked 3 times, sir. The readings are accurate. And, Commander, there is something else. Those ships, their power signatures. They are running reactors more efficient than ours." A message came through. The face on the screen was familiar. Older now, grayer, but the eyes were the same. Captain Daeho Kim, except he wore the rank of Admiral, High Commander Velkar. "I am Admiral Daeho Kim of the Human Defense Fleet. You are in human territory. You will leave immediately. If you do not, we will remove you by force." Velkar stared at the screen. Then he laughed. "Admiral Kim, I remember you. You were the frightened captain who thanked me for sparing your pathetic transport ship. You called your own people weak. You begged for mercy, and now you think you can threaten me. You have 120 ships. I have 300. You cannot win this fight. Surrender now and I will be merciful. Continue this foolishness and I will destroy every human vessel in this system." Daeho's expression did not change. "You misunderstand, Commander. I am not threatening you. I am informing you. You will leave. Or you will die. The choice is yours. You have 60 seconds to decide." The transmission ended. Velkar felt anger replace his amusement. These insects dared to challenge the Valak Empire? They needed to be taught a lesson. "All ships prepare to engage. We will destroy half their fleet in the opening salvo. Show them the price of defiance." The Valak fleet formed battle lines, standard formation, standard tactics. They had used the same approach for centuries. It had never failed. Their weapons charged. Their shields activated. They moved forward with the confidence of a predator approaching prey. Then the human ships moved. They did not form battle lines. They scattered. They broke apart into small groups. They accelerated to speeds that should have been impossible for vessels their size. The Valak fired their weapons. Most shots missed. The few that hit splashed harmlessly against shields that should not have been that strong. The human ships struck back. They did not target the Valak ships where doctrine said they should. They struck at weak points, at the joints where shields overlapped, at sensor arrays, at weapon emplacements, precision strikes that should have required minutes of targeting calculations. But they came instantly, continuously without pause. A Valak destroyer exploded. Then another. Then 5 more. Velkar watched in disbelief as his fleet took losses. How is this possible? How are they moving so fast? How are they targeting so accurately? His tactical officer responded. They are not following standard engagement protocols. They are operating in small hunter groups. They are using unpredictable attack vectors. Our targeting systems cannot compensate. And their weapons. Commander, their weapons are designed specifically to penetrate our shield frequencies. They knew exactly what frequencies we use. They prepared for this. Colonel Heiwan Shin led a squadron of human strike fighters. She had trained for 5 years for this moment. Her pilots moved like they were part of a single organism. They wove through the Valak formation. They struck. They vanished. They struck again from a different angle. She keyed her communication system. All wings focus on their capital ships. Disable their primary reactors. Do not destroy them if possible. We want survivors to tell the story of what happened here. Her squadron split apart. Each fighter chose a target. They moved with perfect coordination. Valak point defense systems tried to track them. Too slow, too predictable. The human pilots had studied those systems. They knew exactly how to avoid them. On the Resilience, Admiral Deho watched the battle unfold. His tactical officer provided updates. Valak fleet cohesion breaking down. They are trying to reform, but we are not giving them time. Estimated enemy losses at 30% and climbing. Our casualties: 2 frigates damaged, 0 destroyed. Deho nodded. Continue the attack, but remember the objective. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to send a message. Focus on military targets. Disable their ability to fight. Then let them retreat. Velkar's flagship shuddered as human weapons struck his shields. The lights flickered. Systems failed. Around him, officers shouted reports. Reactor at 40%. Forward shields collapsing. Weapons array 3 offline. Hull breach on deck 7. He stared at the tactical display. His fleet was dying. 300 ships. The pride of the Valak Empire. Being torn apart by an enemy that should not even exist. By insects. By a species he had dismissed as insignificant. Communications. Send the retreat order. All ships withdraw immediately. We cannot win this fight. His officer hesitated. Sir, the High Council will demand an explanation. We outnumbered them. We should have won. Velkar's voice was bitter. Tell them the truth. Tell them the insects learned to bite. Now send the order before we lose the entire fleet. The Valak ships turned and fled. They jumped to faster-than-light travel as quickly as their damaged systems allowed. Behind them, the human fleet held position. They did not pursue. They had proven their point. Admiral Deho stood on his bridge and looked at his crew. They had won. Humanity had won. After 5 years of shame, they had finally shown the galaxy what they were capable of. But this was just the beginning. The Valak would return. Other empires would respond. The real test was still to come. Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. The Valak Empire had been defeated. Humanity had revealed a hidden fleet. The insects had teeth, and the entire galactic order suddenly seemed less certain than it had been that morning. The Galactic Assembly Chamber fell silent when Ambassador Jiwan Park entered. No one laughed now. No one made jokes about insects. They watched her with different eyes. Eyes that calculated, eyes that reassessed, eyes that suddenly saw danger where they had once seen weakness. Jiwan took her seat. She had received detailed reports of the Battle of New Sejong. She knew what her people had accomplished, but she showed nothing on her face. She simply waited for the session to begin. The Thorian delegate spoke first. His voice no longer carried condescension. Ambassador Park, the Thorian Confederacy requests clarification regarding the human military fleet encountered by Valak forces. Intelligence reports suggest vessels with technology that does not match your registered capabilities. We would appreciate transparency regarding these developments. Jiwan stood. Her voice was calm, diplomatic. but it carried an edge that had not been there 5 years ago. The human fleet acted in self-defense against an unprovoked invasion. Regarding our military capabilities, humanity has never claimed to share all technical specifications with this assembly, just as the Thorian Confederacy maintains classified programs, just as the Valak Empire keeps its weapons development secret. Humanity simply chose to develop defensive capabilities quietly. This should surprise no one. The Valak ambassador stood abruptly. His face showed barely controlled rage. Your species lied. You pretended to be weak while preparing for war. This is a betrayal of galactic trust. Jiwan turned to face him directly. We lied? Your empire called us insects. Your commander told us we were too insignificant to matter. You granted us mercy not from kindness but from contempt. And now you complain that we prepared to defend ourselves? Perhaps the Valak should reconsider their habit of dismissing species they deem inferior. Sometimes insects bite back. A murmur ran through the chamber. No one had ever spoken to a Valak ambassador that way. Not in living memory. The Valak delegate looked like he might attack her physically. But he simply sat down. What else could he do? His empire's fleet lay broken in human space. After the session, Jiwan returned to her office. She found Senator Bora Choi waiting for her. The Lydrian ambassador smiled. That was magnificent. Every minor species in the assembly heard what you said. They are talking about nothing else. You did not just defeat the Valak militarily, you humiliated them politically. Jiwan sat down heavily. She felt exhausted. I did not enjoy it. I would have preferred peaceful coexistence. But the Valak made their choice when they invaded our space. Bora leaned forward. I have a proposal. Several species have approached me. The Lydrians, the Krivan, the Peshan Union. 11 minor civilizations in total. We have all been dismissed by the great powers. We have all been called weak. We have all been threatened. But we watched what humanity did. We want to stand together. Will you lead us? Jiwan looked at her carefully. What exactly are you proposing? A formal alliance. We call it the Coalition of Free Worlds, a mutual defense pact, technology sharing agreements, economic cooperation. Together we would have real influence in the assembly. The great empires would have to negotiate with us rather than dictate to us. But we need leadership. We need someone who has proven they can stand against the powerful. We need humanity. Jiwan considered the offer. This was larger than she had expected. This changed everything. I need to consult with my government. But personally, I believe this is exactly what the galaxy needs. An alliance not based on conquest but on mutual respect. Give me 3 days. I will have an answer. On Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo Kang met with political leaders. They discussed the coalition proposal. Some expressed concern. Others saw opportunity. The debate continued for hours. Finally, the decision was made. Humanity would join. Humanity would help lead. But there was a condition. The coalition must remain defensive in nature. No wars of conquest. No expansion through force. Only mutual protection. The message went back to G1. She transmitted humanity's acceptance to Bora and the others. Within a week, the Coalition of Free Worlds was officially formed. 12 species, combined populations of over 50 billion, combined military assets that suddenly made them a power that could not be ignored. The news spread quickly. The ancient empires reacted with alarm. They had maintained control through divide and conquer strategies. By keeping minor species separated and weak, now those species had unified. Now they had humanity's military technology. Now they had teeth. In the Valak High Council, emperors and generals debated their response. High Commander Velkar stood before them and delivered his report. He spoke honestly about the defeat. He explained how human technology had outmatched their own. He recommended caution, but the High Counselor would not accept defeat. We cannot allow this insult to stand. We cannot let a species we once called insects stand equal to the Valak Empire. We will assemble a new fleet, twice as large as the last. We will strike at the heart of humanity. We will destroy Earth itself. Then this coalition will collapse. Without human leadership, the minor species will scatter like frightened prey. Velkar wanted to object. He wanted to tell them this was madness, but he said nothing. He simply bowed and left to prepare for a war he knew they might not win. Human intelligence detected the Valak preparations almost immediately. Agents in neutral space, sensor networks hidden in asteroid fields, electronic surveillance of Valak communications. Commander Taeyang Cho analyzed the data and brought it to Admiral Hyunwoo. They are building a massive fleet, 600 warships, maybe more. And their target is clear. They are coming for Earth. They want to break us, to destroy our homeworld and scatter the coalition before it becomes truly powerful. Hyunwoo studied the projections. How long do we have? 3 months, maybe 4. They are rushing production. They are pulling ships from other sectors. This is everything they have. If we defeat this fleet, the Valak Empire will be broken for a generation. If they succeed, humanity ends. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Then we prepare. Alert all coalition forces. Begin evacuating non-essential personnel from Earth. And send a message to Admiral Daeho. Tell him to bring every ship we have. This battle will decide everything. Across human space and throughout the coalition, fleets began to move. They gathered at Earth, ships from 12 different species, hundreds of vessels, all preparing for the largest battle in recent galactic history. The story of humanity's revenge had become legend. Now came the moment to write the final chapter. General Subin Nam commanded ground forces. She prepared planetary defenses, weapons emplacements, shield generators, evacuation shelters for billions of people. If the fleet failed, Earth would still fight. Humanity would not go quietly into extinction. In orbit, Admiral Daeho stood on the bridge of the Resilience. Around his flagship, the combined might of the coalition assembled. He looked at the display showing his forces. So many ships, so many lives depending on the decisions he would make in the coming battle. He felt the weight of it all. His communications officer approached. Admiral, message from the Valak fleet. They have entered the outer system. High Commander Velkar is requesting to speak with you directly. Daeho straightened his uniform. Put him through. Velkar's face appeared on screen. He looked older, tired, but his eyes remained sharp. Admiral Kim, I come with 600 ships. You have perhaps 300. You cannot win. Surrender now. Disband your coalition. Submit to Valak authority. If you do this, Earth will be spared. If you resist, we will reduce your homeworld to ash. You have 1 hour to decide. Daeho smiled slightly. High Commander Velkar, you said something similar 5 years ago. You told us we were insects. You told us we did not matter. You were wrong then. You are wrong now. Humanity does not surrender. Not anymore. Come and test yourself against us. Let us see if your 600 ships are enough. The transmission ended. Daeho turned to his crew. All stations, prepare for combat. Today we defend not just Earth. We defend the principle that strength must be earned, not inherited. We defend the right of all species to stand with dignity. We defend the future. Make ready. The Battle of Earth was about to begin.